The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed like shattered glass under the relentless downpour, and I stood there, frozen in the alley behind the old brick warehouse, my heart pounding as Wyatt's lips crashed into mine. Fierce, unyielding, tasting of whiskey and regret. "Noah, God, I've wanted this since the first time I saw you," he murmured against my mouth, his hands gripping my jacket like it was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. But in that electric instant, as our breaths tangled and the world narrowed to the heat between us, I knew this kiss wasn't just stolen. It was the detonation of everything we'd buried for years. I wiped the rain from my face, my back pressed against the cold brick wall, Wyatt's body still inches from mine, his chest rising and falling in ragged sync with my own. The bass from the warehouse party thrummed through the ground like a distant heartbeat, but out here in the shadows of Capitol Hill, it felt a million miles away. We'd come to this dive of a venue for Jake's birthday bash. Our mutual friend from college, the kind of guy who threw Raegers in abandoned spaces to remind us all we weren't as old as we felt at 28. But Jake's parties had always been a minefield for me, a place where old ghosts showed up uninvited, sipping cheap beer and pretending they hadn't shattered your world once upon a time. Wyatt Kane. The name alone still twisted something deep in my gut, a knot of nostalgia and ache that I'd spent the last 5 years trying to untangle. We'd met freshman year at the University of Washington, back when Seattle's endless gray skies felt like a promise rather than a curse. He was the brooding art major with the easy laugh and the sketchbook always tucked under his arm, his light brown skin glowing under the fluorescent dorm lights like he carried the sun inside him. Mixed heritage. His mom from Louisiana, dad from Seattle's own patchwork of immigrants, made him this beautiful collision of worlds, confident in a way that made my quieter, bookish self feel seen for the first time. We'd been inseparable. Late-night hikes up to Rattlesnake Ledge, coffee runs at the Pike Place stalls where he'd tease me about my obsession with black brew, no sugar, just like my moods. But that was before the summer after junior year, when he ghosted me for a girl named Riley from his painting class. Or at least, that's the story I told myself, the one that kept the betrayal sharp enough to build walls around. He never said goodbye, just faded out with vague texts about figuring things out. And I buried the hurt in law school applications and a string of forgettable hookups that never quite scratched the itch. Now here he was, 30 and sharper around the edges, his dark curls cropped close, a faint scar tracing his jawline from some adventure he probably turned into a tattoo story. He wore a faded black Henley that clung to his broad shoulders, jeans ripped at the knees from too many climbs up those same ledges we used to conquer. "Noah Harlan," he'd said earlier that night, spotting me across the crowded loft space, fairy lights strung like drunken fireflies overhead. His voice cut through the indie rock playlist like a hook, pulling me back. I froze mid-sip of my IPA, the bottle sweating in my hand, and forced a nod. Wyatt. Long time. Polite. Distant. But my pulse betrayed me, hammering as he closed the gap, clapping my shoulder with that familiar grip that lingered a beat too long. We danced around small talk, jobs, me grinding at a mid-tier firm downtown, him freelancing graphic design for indie bands, the mutual friends who'd scattered like leaves in the wind. Jake, bless him, had orchestrated the reunion with zero subtlety, shoving us into a corner for shots of something that burned like liquid fire. "You two were like peas in a pod back then," he'd slurred, winking before vanishing into the throng. And just like that, the air thickened, charged with the unsaid. Wyatt's eyes, that deep hazel that always seemed to hold secrets, locked on mine, and I saw it, the flicker of the same old pull, the one I'd chalked up to youth and stupidity. Hours blurred. We laughed about Professor Hale's Godawful poetry seminars, swapped stories of failed road trips, his to the Badlands, mine to the Oregon coast where the waves had mocked my solitude. The rain started as a drizzle, pattering against the warehouse roof like impatient fingers, but we didn't notice until Jake yelled about an after-party. "I'm out," I said, grabbing my jacket. "Early deposition tomorrow." The truth was, being this close to Wyatt felt like standing on a fault line, and I wasn't ready for the quake. "I'll walk you," he offered, And before I could protest, we were out in the storm, hoods up, shoulders brushing as we navigated the slick sidewalks of Pike Street. The city hummed around us. Honking cabs, the neon buzz of late-night bars, the occasional whoop from clubgoers spilling onto the pavement. Seattle in November was a moody beast, all mist and melancholy, wrapping you in its damp embrace until you forgot where you ended and the rain began. We ducked into the alley for a smoke. His habit, not mine, but I took the offered cigarette anyway, the ember glowing like a tiny rebellion. "You look good, Noah," he said, exhaling a plume that curled into the night. "Settled? Happy?" The question hung heavy, laced with something I couldn't name. I shrugged, passing it back. "Surviving. You?" He laughed, low and rough, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's when it shifted, the way his gaze dropped to my mouth, the subtle lean-in that made the space between us electric. And then, without warning, he closed it. His kiss was a storm unto itself. Urgent, tasting of salt and smoke and the years we'd lost. His fingers threading through my wet hair, pulling me closer as if apology and hunger were one and the same. Kissed him back. God, did I? My hands fisted in his shirt, the world tilting as desire roared to life, hot and unbidden after all this time. But as the rain hammered down, soaking us through, a sliver of doubt pierced the haze. What was this? A drunken lapse? A what-if dredged from the past? When we broke apart, gasping, his forehead pressed to mine, I whispered, "Wyatt, what the hell are we doing?" He pulled back just enough to search my face, water dripping from his lashes. "The thing we've been too scared to do since college. The thing that scared me shitless back then." His voice cracked, raw in the downpour. "I was an idiot, Noah. Running from this, from us because I thought it would break me. But it did anyway." My chest tightened, memories flooding back. The almost moments in his dorm, hands brushing over shared textbooks. The way he'd linger after study sessions, eyes dark with unspoken want. We'd never named it, never crossed that line, but it had simmered there, a current pulling us under. And then he was gone, off to explore with Riley, leaving me to wonder if I'd imagined it all. "Tell me," I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my limbs. "Why now?" "Because life's too damn short," he replied, cupping my face, thumbs tracing my jaw. "And seeing you tonight, it hit me. I can't keep pretending I don't feel this." We stumbled back to my apartment in Belltown, a few blocks away, the rain our reluctant chaperone. My place was a third-floor walk-up in a creaky pre-war building. All exposed brick and mismatched furniture scavenged from estate sales. I flicked on the lamp by the door, casting warm pools of light over the cluttered bookshelves and the half-dead fiddle-leaf fig I'd named Gerald in a moment of weakness. Wyatt shook off his jacket, water pooling at his feet, and for a second, we just stood there, dripping and dazed, the kiss still echoing between us. "You want coffee?" I asked, stalling, needing the ritual to ground me. He nodded, following me to the kitchenette, where the ancient percolator gurgled to life. As it brewed, he leaned against the counter, watching me with that intense gaze that always made me feel peeled open. "Noah, about back then. Don't..." I cut in, sharper than intended. The steam rose like a veil, and I busied myself with mugs. "Not tonight. Whatever this is, let's not autopsy it yet." He nodded, respecting the boundary, but the air hummed with the weight of it. We carried our cups to the couch, settling into the worn leather that sighed under our weight. The window overlooked the sound, lights twinkling through the sheets of rain like distant stars. Conversation flowed easier then. Stories of his freelance gigs designing album covers for up-and-coming folk acts. My tales of depositions gone hilariously awry. Laughter bridged the gaps. But under it all, the pull intensified, glances lingering, knees brushing. It was past 2 when the caffeine wore off, exhaustion tugging at us. "You can crash here," I said, gesturing to the spare room I used for storage. Boxes of law tomes and forgotten ski gear. "Couch is yours if you prefer." He chose the couch, but as I handed him a blanket, our fingers tangled, and the dam broke again. This time, the kiss was slower, exploratory, his hands mapping my back with a reverence that stole my breath. We moved like we had all night, unhurried, savoring the rediscovery. Clothes shed in a trail to my bedroom, his skin warm against the chill, bodies fitting like puzzle pieces long separated. In the quiet aftermath, tangled in sheets that smelled of laundry detergent and us, Wyatt traced lazy patterns on my chest. "This doesn't have to be a one-off," he murmured, voice thick with sleep. "I want more, if you'll let me." I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But as his breathing evened out, doubts crept in like the dawn light filtering through the blinds. Trust wasn't a switch I could flip, not after the silence he'd left me with. Still, for the first time in years, the ache in my chest felt less like a wound and more like a beginning. The next morning brought hangovers and hesitation. Wyatt woke first, padding to the kitchen in boxers, starting eggs like it was routine. I joined him, hair a mess, and we ate at the tiny table, forks scraping in companionable quiet. "Last night was," he started, then trailed off with a grin. "Epic." I chuckled, but my mind raced. Work loomed. A merger case that had my boss breathing down my neck, and reality crashed back. "Yeah, but I gotta head out soon." He nodded, no pressure, just that steady gaze. "Dinner tonight?" "My treat. There's this hole in the wall in Fremont with the best pho. Reminds me of my mom's cooking." I hesitated, then smiled. "You're on." The day dragged in fluorescent-lit conference rooms, my thoughts drifting to the curve of his smile, the way his laugh rumbled against my skin. By evening, I was equal parts excited and terrified, the sparks from last night flickering brighter, threatening to ignite something I wasn't sure I could contain. Fremont streets were alive with the eccentric pulse of Seattle's self-proclaimed center of the universe, where the rocket-shaped sign loomed like a whimsical sentinel and murals splashed color against the perpetual gray. Wyatt waited outside the faux joint, leaning against a lamppost with his hands in his pockets, that easy confidence making him look like he belonged in an indie film poster. When he spotted me weaving through the foot traffic, his face lit up, and he pushed off to meet me halfway, pulling me into a quick hug that lingered just enough to send heat pooling low in my belly. "You made it," he said, voice warm as we ducked inside. The place was a cozy chaos. Steaming pots on the open kitchen line, the air thick with basil and star anise, families crammed at formica tables slurping noodles with unself-conscious gusto. We slid into a booth by the window, knees knocking under the table, and ordered mine with extra lime, his loaded with tripe because, as he put it, life's too bland without the awful. Conversation picked up where we'd left off, dipping into deeper waters. He talked about his mom's gumbo recipe, the way she'd hum old jazz tunes while stirring the roux, her Creole roots clashing beautifully with his dad's stoic Pacific Northwest sensibility. "They split when I was 12, he admitted over a shared spring roll, dipping it in Newark cham. "Dad couldn't handle the fire in her. Said she was too much." His eyes shadowed, and I saw the boy he'd been, caught in the crossfire of love's fallout. "I'm sorry," I said, reaching across to squeeze his hand, his fingers laced with mine, calloused from pencils and paintbrushes, grounding me. "My folks are the opposite, still holding hands at PTA meetings, even though I'm long gone. Steady. Boring, maybe, but steady." He smirked, but there was gratitude in it. Steady sounds nice. Rare, though. The server dropped off our bowls, fragrant steam rising like an offering, and we dove in, the silence comfortable, broken only by satisfied hums and the clink of chopsticks. As we ate, the talk turned personal, the X's we'd collected like bad tattoos. I confessed my dry spell, the parade of Tinders that fizzled after awkward brunches. "I think I'm wired for the slow burn," I said, slurping broth. "The ones who stick." Wyatt's gaze held mine, intense. "Me too, Riley." That was me panicking, trying to be what everyone expected. Straight-laced Wyatt, the guy who dates girls and doesn't rock the boat. The admission hung there, raw and real. I set down my spoon, heart twisting. So it wasn't nothing back then? Us? He shook his head, reaching for my hand again. It was everything. Scared the shit out of me. Thought if I leaned into the normal, it'd go away. But it didn't. It just waited. Relief washed over me, mingled with a fresh wave of old hurt. You could have said something. A heads up. Anything. I know. His thumb stroked my knuckles, apologetic. Coward move. I was 21, Noah. Figuring out who I was in a world that didn't make it easy. He paused, eyes dropping to the table. Still figuring, sometimes. We paid the bill, him insisting, me promising next time, and wandered out into the cooling night, the Aurora Bridge's lights spanning the water like a silver thread. Fremont's vibe wrapped around us. A towering Lenin statue glaring from the shadows, the smell of weed from a nearby dispensary, the distant wail of a siren blending with a street busker's guitar. Wyatt slipped his arm around my waist as we walked, casual but claiming, and I didn't pull away. Felt right, this tentative reclaiming. Back at my place, the momentum built naturally. Kisses in the hallway that turned heated, stumbling over the threshold with laughter bubbling between us. We made it to the bedroom this time without shedding a layer until the door clicked shut, exploring each other with the hunger of rediscovery. His body was a map of new territories. The tattoo of a compass rose on his ribs, inked during a solo trip to New Orleans. The faint stretch marks from a growth spurt he'd never outgrown. The way he arched under my touch, breath hitching like a prayer. After, as we lay spent and sated, his head on my chest, he murmured, "This feels like coming home." I held him tighter, but sleep brought dreams of fractures, of Wyatt vanishing again, leaving echoes in empty rooms. The week that followed was a whirlwind of stolen moments, the kind that made the mundane electric. Mornings started with his texts, coffee emojis, and inside jokes about our faux-fueled heart-to-hearts. We'd meet for lunch at the market, sharing salmon bentos on the waterfront, watching ferries slice through the choppy bay while gulls wheeled overhead. Afternoons bled into evenings. Him sketching at my kitchen table while I pored over case files, our feet tangled under the wood. It was domestic in the best way, effortless, like we'd skipped the awkward phase and landed in something real. But cracks showed early. Saturday, we hiked Discovery Park, the trails muddy from recent rains, evergreens towering like silent guardians. Halfway up, breath labored, he stopped, back to a moss-covered stump. "Noah, there's something I need to tell you." My stomach dropped, bracing for the bomb. "It's about Riley." Of course, the ghost I'd half expected. "She's not exactly an ex," he continued, rubbing his neck. "We hooked up on and off after college. Nothing serious, but she was there when things got rough. My safety net." Jealousy flared, hot and irrational, but I swallowed it. "And now it's done. Has been since that night in the alley. But I didn't want secrets between us." His eyes pleaded for understanding, and I nodded, pulling him close. The kiss that followed was sealing, a vow amid the ferns and fog. Yet doubt lingered, a whisper in quiet moments. I threw myself into work, burying it under briefs and billable hours, but Wyatt noticed. "You're pulling back," he said one night over takeout Thai, curry staining the cardboard. "Talk to me." I sighed, setting down my fork. "It's stupid. Just scared this is too good. Like it'll vanish." He crossed to my side, tilting my chin up. "I'm not going anywhere. Not this time." His kiss was gentle, reassuring, and for a while it worked. We ventured out more. A show at the Paramount, where we held hands in the dark, his thumb tracing circles on my palm during the crescendo. A drive to Alki Beach at sunset, windows down, his playlist of Bon Iver and Hozier filling the car with achy melancholy. There, toes in the sand, waves lapping like confessions, he opened up about his family. "Dad's got early onset Alzheimer's now. Watching him fade, it's like losing him twice." Vulnerability cracked his voice, and I held him as the sky bled orange, promising silently to be his anchor. But anchors drag sometimes. Midweek, Jake texted, "Heard you're shacking up with Wyatt. Careful, man, he's got baggage." I brushed it off, but it planted seeds. Then, Friday, Wyatt canceled our plans. "Client emergency," he said, voice tight over the phone. I paced my apartment, the empty space mocking me, and when he finally showed, disheveled and distant, I pressed. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just rough day." He collapsed onto the couch, head in hands. I sat beside him, rubbing his back, but he flinched. "Not now, Noah. Please." The rejection stung, a preview of fractures to come. We slept apart that night, the bed a chasm, and I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, wondering if the sparks were fizzling before they could blaze. Sunday brought reconciliation. Brunch at a Capitol Hill cafe, mimosas and avocado toast. His apologies poured out like syrup. Work stress. Nothing about us. I forgave, because how could I not? His smile disarmed me, and by afternoon, we were tangled again, bodies reaffirming what words couldn't. But the undercurrent pulled stronger. Late that week, rifling through his backpack for a charger, I found it. A photo tucked in a side pocket. Him and a woman, Riley, I assumed, arms around each other at what looked like a family barbecue. Dates on the back from last summer. My heart sank, the betrayal fresh despite his assurances. When he came out of the shower, towel slung low, I held it up, voice steady. "What's this?" His face paled. "Noah, it's old. I swear. Last July? That's not done." Anger surged, hot and unfiltered. "You said it was over. No secrets." "It is over. But I didn't burn the pictures. It's not like that." He reached for me, but I stepped back, the photo crumpling in my fist. "Then what is it like, Wyatt? Am I just the rebound? The experiment while you play house with her?" "No. God, no." Hurt flashed in his eyes, mirroring mine. "You're the one I want. The one I've always wanted." We argued then, voices rising in the small space, accusations flying like shrapnel. He stormed out, door slamming, leaving me with the echo and the ache. Alone, I sank to the floor, tears hot on my cheeks, the photo a talisman of doubt. How could I trust the sparks when they threatened to burn us both? The days after the fight stretched like taffy, sticky and interminable. Seattle's weather mirrored my mood. Relentless drizzle turning to sheets of rain that battered the windows like accusations. Work became my refuge. The firm's glass towers a sterile cocoon where I could lose myself in contracts and conference calls. Pretending the hollow in my chest was just indigestion from too much coffee. Jake texted check-ins, laced with concern. "You okay?" Wyatt's been radio silent too. I replied with emojis, non-committal, because admitting the fracture felt like inviting pity. Wyatt's silence was a void, sucking the air from my routines. No good morning memes, no impromptu invites to grab tacos at the food trucks on First Avenue. I replayed the argument in loops, the crumple of that photo, his defensive pleas, the way he'd looked at me like I was the one wielding the knife. Part of me knew I overreacted, that a snapshot wasn't a smoking gun, but the hurt ran deeper, rooted in the abandonment of years ago. Trust, once cracked, let in the flood. By Wednesday, I caved. A weak text olive branch. "Coffee? Neutral ground." His reply came swift. "Yeah." 4 p.m. Elliott Bay? The bookstore cafe felt safe. Public, bookish, a buffer of strangers and lattes. I arrived early, claiming a corner table by the stacks, the scent of fresh pages and espresso grounding my nerves. When he walked in, wind-blown and wary, my heart clenched. He looked wrecked. Dark circles under his eyes, stubble thicker than usual, that jaw scar standing out like a fault line. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat opposite, hands wrapped around his mug like a lifeline. No hug, no easy grin. Just us, navigating the wreckage. "Hey," I stirred my black coffee, watching the spoon circle like a drain. "I saw the photo. Gutted me, after everything you said about her being done." He nodded, slow, eyes on the table. I get it. Should have tossed it. Or at least told you it existed. A beat, then softer. Riley and we were friends first. Comfort. But it was never love. Not like this. He gestured between us. Tentative. With you, it's fire. Scary fire. The words landed soft, extinguishing some of the blaze in my chest. I want to believe that, but you vanished before. What if this is round 2? His gaze lifted. Fierce. It's not. I'm all in, Noah. But I need you to meet me there. No more running for either of us. We talked for hours, the cafe emptying around us as rain pattered the skylights. Apologies flowed, laced with truths. His fear of coming out fully to his dad, whose traditional views clashed with the son's fluid heart. My own closet, cracked open in college but never fully aired to my conservative-leaning family in Spokane. They're Methodists, I admitted, tracing the rim of my cup. Love me. But the gay thing? It's the elephant in the pews. Wyatt reached across, fingers brushing mine. We'll figure it out. Together. That together pulled us back, tentative at first. Texts resuming. A walk along the locks where salmon leaped like determined dreams. By weekend, we were at his place in Ballard. A converted garage studio with exposed beams and canvases leaning like drunken soldiers. His art surrounded us. Abstract swirls of blues and golds, evoking Puget Sound storms. We cooked jambalaya from his mom's recipe, spicy enough to make us sweat, and ate on the floor picnic style, wine loosening tongues and limbs. Making love there felt different, slower, like sealing a pact. His touches were deliberate, mapping scars both seen and unseen, whispers of mine and stay against my skin. Afterward, curled on his futon under a quilt pieced from old band tees, he confessed more. I started therapy last year, after Dad's diagnosis. Forced me to unpack the Riley mess, the you mess. Realized I was bi, always had been, but scared of the labels. I propped on an elbow, tracing his compass tattoo. Labels suck sometimes, but they help too. I'm gay, Wyatt. Plain and simple. Took me years to own it. He smiled, pulling me down. Lucky me, then. The idol held through November's slide into December, Seattle decking itself in twinkling lights and evergreen boughs. We strung garland in my apartment, bickering over placement like an old couple. His laughter echoing as pine needles rained down. Holiday markets became our haunt. The Fremont Fair's artisan stalls, where he bought me a leather-bound journal for your brooding thoughts. And I got him charcoal pencils, sleek as promises. But joy's underbelly is vulnerability, and it reared during a dinner with Jake and his crew. The group, a mix of ex-Huskies now scattered in tech jobs and bar ownerships, gathered at a Queen and pub, fire crackling in the hearth, pints foaming. Wyatt and I sat thigh to thigh, his hand casual on my knee under the table, but eyes turned curious. So, you two finally? Sarah, Jake's girlfriend, teased, clinking glasses. Wyatt grinned, arm draping my shoulders. Finally. Cheers erupted, but later, in the bathroom line, Jake pulled me aside. He's solid, man, but watch, Wyatt's got that wanderlust. Traveled solo after Riley, bounced around. Don't let him bolt when it gets real. The warning echoed Riley's ghost, but I shoved it down, rejoining the table with a forced laugh. That night, back home, Wyatt sensed the shift. What's eating you? Just Jake's dad vibes. I lied, but he pressed gentle. Tell me. So I did, the doubt, the fear of impermanence. He listened, then cupped my face. I'm not wandering anymore. You're my north, Noah. Words like bomb, but actions prove. He proved it the next week, showing up at my office unannounced with lunch, sushi rolls from Wajimaya, wasabi sharp as his grin. Thought you could use a break from the suits. We ate in the park across the street, benches slick with mist, sharing bites and stories of dream vacations. His to the bayou, mine to New York's hidden jazz dives. Christmas Eve, we drove to his dad's in Shoreline, a modest rancher strung with lights that blinked like Morse code. Elias Kane was a shadow of the burly fisherman I'd glimpsed in photos. Frail now, eyes cloudy but kind. "This your fella?" he asked Wyatt, voice gravelly, extending a hand that trembled slightly. "Yeah, Dad." "Noah." Wyatt's pride swelled my chest. We sat by the tree, ornaments handmade from his childhood, clay handprints, popsicle stick stars, sipping spiked cider. Elias shared tales of commercial trawls, storms that swallowed boats whole, his laugh booming despite the fog in his mind. When he dozed, Wyatt led me to the porch, stars pricking the velvet sky. "Thanks for this. Means everything." I kissed him there, snow flurrying soft. Wouldn't miss it. New Year's dawned crisp, the city gearing for fireworks over the Needle. We hosted a small bash, Jake and a few others, champagne bubbling, resolutions swapped like trading cards. As midnight tolled, Wyatt pulled me to the balcony, the Space Needle's plume exploding in golds and reds. "To us," he toasted, clinking glasses. "No more hiding." Our kiss swallowed the cheers, deep and devouring, the world fading to just us. But January brought the chill. Wyatt's freelance dried up, a client bailed, then another, leaving him edgy, pacing his studio like a caged wolf. "It's fine," he'd say, but worry etched lines around his mouth. I offered help, intros to firm contacts, but he waved it off. "I got this. Independence thing." Pride I knew, but it bred distance. Nights, he'd vanish into sketches, emerging hollow-eyed. One evening, I found him at the kitchen table, staring at his phone, screen glowing with a text from Riley. "Miss our talks. Coffee soon?" My blood iced. "Her again." He startled, pocketing it. "Just friend stuff. She's going through a breakup." Friend stuff. The words tasted bitter. Like the photo? Or the done part? "Noah, come on." Frustration sharpened his tone. "It's not." "What?" "Convenient." I snatched my keys. "I need air." The door shut behind me, echoing the slam in my soul. I walked the blocks to the water, wind whipping off the sound, waves crashing like my thoughts. Was this the pattern? Him orbiting her while I played second fiddle? Hours later, I returned to darkness. His note on the counter. Needed space. Call tomorrow. Space. The word hollowed me. Sleep evaded. Dawn finding me curled on the couch. Phone silent. When it buzzed, his name, I answered, voice wrecked. "Wyatt." "Noah. I'm sorry. Let's fix this." But fixing meant facing the rot. His unresolved ties, my insecurities blooming like weeds. We met at a cafe in Magnolia, bluff views of the Olympics mocking our small storms. I texted her back. Told her no, he said, sliding a latte my way. Boundaries. For us. Relief flickered. But trust? Shattered glass takes time to mend. I want to believe you, but it hurts, Wyatt. Every time. He nodded, pain mirroring. I know. Let me earn it. We tried date nights enforced, no phones dinners, therapy apps shared for check-ins. It worked. Marginally. Sparks reigniting in quiet touches. Shared silences. Valentine's loomed, and he planned a surprise. A cabin in the Cascades, rented on a whim, wood smoke and stargazing promised. The drive up was tense at first, winding roads slick with melt, radio filling the gaps. But as evergreens thickened, conversation thawed. Remember that camping trip sophomore year? He asked, hand on my thigh. We got lost, ended up stargazing till dawn. I smiled, genuine. Best night, until you hogged the tent. Laughter bridged us, and by the cabin. A cozy frame with a stone hearth. We were us again. Snow fell soft outside, blanketing the world. While inside, we built a fire, bodies warming faster than the flames. Love-making by the rug, slow and sacred. His vows whispered against my neck. You're it, endgame. Bliss fragile as fresh powder. Then the call came midweek after, his dad worsening. Wyatt rushed to shoreline, me trailing. Elias lay in a hospital bed, monitors beeping like accusatory ticks. his confusion a veil over recognition. "Wyatt, the boy with the drawings," he murmured, grasping his son's hand. "Yeah, Dad, still drawing." Wyatt's voice broke, and I held him in the hall after, sobs muffled in my shoulder. "He's slipping away." We nursed him home, hospice whispers hovering. In the vigil, Wyatt unraveled, snapping at nurses, withdrawing into silence. I stayed, cooking meals he barely touched, holding space for grief's tidal pull. One night, as Elias slept, Wyatt paced the kitchen. "I can't do this without you." Desperation raw. "You don't have to." I pulled him close, but his eyes held shadows. "What?" Riley called, offered to help. "She's good with this stuff." Nursing background. The name landed like a slap. "And?" I said no, but it's tempting. "Familiar." Familiar. The word gutted. "So I'm not enough?" "No, God, Noah." He raked hands through his hair. "It's just, everything's crumbling." I walked out then, into the night, streetlights haloing the pain. Crumbling. Was that us too? The betrayal unfolded not with thunder, but a quiet unraveling, like fog creeping over the sound until you couldn't see the horizon. I crashed at Jake's that night. A lumpy futon in his Capitol Hill walk-up, the city's hum a poor lullaby. He didn't pry, just slid me a beer and queued up old episodes of The West Wing, our college comfort. "Whatever it is, you'll sort it," he said during credits, clapping my shoulder. But sleep dodged me, mind replaying Wyatt's words. Familiar, as if our fragile new world wasn't anchor enough against the storm. Morning brought resolve, brittle as icicles. I texted Wyatt, "Need time. Focus on your dad." No reply, but I didn't expect one. Work swallowed me. A high-stakes arbitration that demanded every ounce of focus, depositions where I grilled execs until they squirmed. In the fluorescent glare of the conference room, I was Noah Harlan, Esquire, sharp, unflappable. But alone in the elevator, reflection mocking me in steel doors, the facade cracked, tears hot and unbidden. Wyatt's updates came sporadic. Texts about Elias's good days. A photo of father-son sketches by the bedside. I responded brief, supportive, but the distance grew, a chasm widening with each unanswered ache. Friends noticed. Sarah cornered me at a firm happy hour, her lawyer's intuition sharp. "Spill. You look like hell." "It's Wyatt." The words tumbled, the Riley specter, the grief-fueled slip, my fear of being the placeholder. She listened, nodding over her gin and tonic. "People lean on the known when it hurts. Doesn't mean it's you he wants." "Feels like it," I admitted, swirling ice. "Like I'm fighting ghosts." "Then fight smarter. Or walk. But don't ghost yourself out of happiness." Her words lingered, a gauntlet. I drove to Shoreline that weekend, unannounced, the coastal route winding past driftwood-strewn beaches. Elias's house smelled of antiseptic and stewed apples. Wyatt in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, stirring a pot with mechanical focus. He startled at my knock, spoon clattering. "Noah, you came." Couldn't stay away. Awkward hug, his body tense, then softening. Elias napped in the living room, quilt tucked high, and we sat at the scarred oak table, mugs steaming. "How's he doing?" "Up and down." Wyatt's eyes, red-rimmed, held mine. "Thanks for the space." Cleared my head. "And Riley." The name dropped heavy. He winced. "Told her no. For good. She's out of the picture. Blocked. Everything." Proof flashed on his phone. Messages archived. Contact deleted. "You deserve that. Us deserves that." Relief flooded. Tentative. "I want to trust this." "Then let me show you." His hand covered mine, warm, steady. We fell back into rhythm, shadowed by hospice visits but buoyed by small wins. Elias recognizing us one afternoon, demanding stories of Wyatt's adventures with that nice boy Noah. Laughter bubbled. Real. And in the car ride home, Wyatt's head on my shoulder at a red light, tears silent. "Love you," he whispered, first time voiced. Love you too. The words freed something, light-piercing fog. Spring teased Seattle with reluctant blooms, cherry blossoms in the U District, daffodils nodding along green lake paths. We ran their mornings, breaths sinking to pounding feet, endorphins chasing grief's tail. Wyatt's portfolio rebounded. A gallery in Pioneer Square bit on his Storm series, paying enough for a celebratory dinner at Canlis, the cliffside view of the city glittering like absolution. There, over seared scallops and Cabernet, he proposed a trip. New Orleans. My roots. Meet Mom properly. She's been hounding me about that Seattle sweetheart. Nerves fluttered. Meeting family. Milestone or minefield? She knows? About us. Everything. Pride in his grin. She's Team Rainbow all the way. The flight south was a blur of turbulence and turbulence. My mind, not the skies. Louis Armstrong Airport hummed with jazz undertones. The air thick with humidity and beignet siren call. Wyatt's mom, Delphine, waited at arrivals. A force of nature in floral prints and silver braids, enveloping me in a hug scented of magnolia and spice. Noah Cher, been hearin' 'bout you since Wyatt was knee-high to a crawfish boil. Her Garden District home was a shotgun double, shotgun in layout and spirit, porches sagging with ferns, jazz records spinning on a vintage turntable. Delphine fed us gumbo thick as sin, stories flowing freer than the Sazeracs. Wyatt's childhood pranks, his dad's quiet courtship, the divorce that scattered but didn't shatter. He got my fire, that boy, she said, winking. And you're calm? Perfect match. Nola wove its spell. French Quarter rambles. Horse-drawn carriages clopping over cobblestones. Preservation Hall's clarinet wails stirring souls. Wyatt sketched in Jackson Square. Tourists tossing coins while I wandered beignet-dusted, watching him glow under the live oak's dappled shade. Nights we danced in dive bars, his hips against mine to Zydeco beats, sweat slick and alive. In a Marigny courtyard, under gas lamps flickering like fireflies, he kissed me deep, murmuring, "This is forever." Back in Seattle, the high lingered, but reality nipped. Elias declined sharper. Confused rages, nights Wyatt spent at the house, me tagging along with takeout and patience. One storm-lashed evening, as thunder rolled off the bay, Elias lashed out, "Who are you? Get out. Wyatt don't need your kind." The words sliced homophobic barbs from a mind unraveling. Wyatt deflated, apologizing profusely in the hall. "It's the disease, not him." "I know." But sting lingered, a bruise to the spirit. Driving home, wipers slashing rain, I gripped the wheel. What if, when he's gone, it changes us? Wyatt's hand on my knee firm. "It won't. We're stronger." Hospice intensified, days a blur of meds and memories. Wyatt poured grief into art. Canvases of fractured skies, Elias's face emerging from blues. I supported, cooking, holding him through sobs that shook the bed frame. Love deepened in the forge, tender and tempered. Then, the gallery opening. Wyatt's Storm series unveiled in Pioneer Square's brick vaults. Wine flowing, critics murmuring. He shone, schmoozing in a button-down that hugged his frame, but nerves hummed under it. "For Dad." He toasted me privately, glass clinking. "And us." Pride swelled as buyers circled, but midway, my phone buzzed, "Nurse. Elias asking for you both." Now, we bolted, gallery forgotten, racing through downtown's arteries to shoreline. Elias lay serene, breaths shallow. "Boys," he rasped, eyes clearing miraculously. "Knew you'd come." Stories spilled, trawler yarns, Wyatt's birth under a harvest moon. Proud of my artist and his heart. Hands squeezed mine, deliberate. Take care of each other. Tears streamed as he slipped away hours later, monitors flatlining to silence. Wyatt collapsed against me, wail primal, and I held him, world narrowing to that room, that loss. The funeral was small, shoreline cemetery under drizzling skies. Elias's urn nestled by the sea he'd loved. Delphine flew up, her presence a buoy, eulogy laced with jazz and joy. He sailed rough waters, but found his port in love. After, in the empty house, Wyatt wandered rooms like a ghost. "What now?" he whispered one night, packing boxes by lamplight. "Now, we live. For him. For us." I kissed his temple, but emptiness echoed. Grief's tide pulled Wyatt under. Sleepless nights, sketches abandoned, freelance faltering again. He withdrew, polite but distant, echoes of old patterns. "Just processing," he'd say, but touches grew rare, bed a divide. One evening, returning from a run, I found him on the porch, phone in hand. Riley's name on the call log, duration, 45 minutes. Heart plummeted. "Wyatt," he startled, pocketing it. "Hey, out for air." "Who was that?" Voice steel. Riley, defeat in his sigh. She heard about Dad. Wanted to. Console. Console. Sarcasm dripped. "Like old times."
No.
"Noah, please. Save it." I grabbed keys, storming to the car. Betrayal, fresh and festering. In grief's grip, he'd reached for the familiar again. The drive to Jake's blurred with tears, radio static mocking. This time, the fracture was seismic. Days turned to a week of silence. My apartment a tomb of half-packed bags and unanswered texts. Jake urged confrontation. Don't let pride win. So I did, showed at Wyatt's studio, door ajar, him hunched over a canvas, brushstrokes violent. "We need to talk." He looked up, wrecked. "Noah." Why her? Again, pain raw. Comfort. Stupid. Knee-jerk. Tears tracked his cheeks. "But it wasn't what you think. Just talk." I stopped it, told her I'm with you. With me? Or running to her every time it hurts. He stood, closing distance.
"No. I'm scared. Okay."
Of losing you like I lost him. But reaching out, that was weakness, not want. I searched his eyes, seeing truth amid the storm. Prove it. Cut her out. For real. I will. Phone thrust forward. Contacts open. Riley deleted. Messages purged. All in. If you'll have me. Hesitation warred with hope. One more chance, Wyatt. But no ghosts. None. Kiss sealed it, desperate, redeeming. Summer bloomed hesitant. Us rebuilding brick by brick. Therapy joined our arsenal. Couple sessions in a Belltown office. Unpacking grief's tentacles. Riley's shadow banished. Wyatt's art resurged, commissions flowing. I made partner. A quiet milestone celebrated with oysters at Elliott's. Picnics in Discovery Park. Bodies lazy in sun-dappled grass. Whispers of futures. A house in Fremont. Maybe with a studio for him, library for me. Love, tempered by fire, burned steady. But scars itch. One August night, post-gallery crawl. Buzzed on IPAs, doubt surfaced. You ever regret? I asked, sheets tangled. Never. His hand on my heart. You're my compass. I believed him. Mostly. Autumn's palette crept into Seattle like a slow exhale. Maples igniting along Aurora Avenue. The air crisp with fallen leaves and chimney smoke. Wyatt and I navigated the season hand in hand. Literally and not. Our bond a tapestry rewoven from grief's threads. Elias's absence lingered, a quiet companion, but we'd learned its language. Anniversaries marked with hikes to his favorite bluff, where the sound stretched endless, and toasts to the man who'd taught Wyatt resilience by example. Work surged for both. My caseload ballooned with a class action suit against a tech giant, endless motions and midnight oil. Wyatt's murals commissioned for a new brewpub in Ballard, ladders and spray cans his dawn to dusk. We stole time fiercely. Breakfasts of steel-cut oats and stolen kisses. Evenings unwinding with vinyl spins. Coltrane's saxophone weaving through the loft like smoke. Intimacy deepened, not just physical but soul-bearing. Nights where we'd lie face to face, breaths mingling, confessing boyhood dreams crushed by reality's boot. "You're my safe harbor," he murmured one such evening, fingers tracing my collarbone by candlelight, even in the squalls. The metaphor stuck, fitting our American Odyssey. Two men carving space in a land of jagged coasts and vast skies, where identity was both beacon and burden. We talk politics over diner hashes, Wyatt's passion for queer rights flaring at news of rollback bills. My measured lawyers take tempered by hope in incremental wins. "We're proof," he'd say, squeezing my hand across greasy plates. "Love wins quiet battles." October brought the Highline SeaTac Air Show, a riot of jets thundering overhead, crowds picnicking on the tarmac. We spread a blanket amid families and flag wavers, Wyatt sketching contrails while I snapped photos, his profile sharp against blue, curls tousled by jet wash. A fighter roared low, sonic boom rattling ribs, and he hooped, boyish, pulling me into a kiss amid cheers. Feel that? Alive. Later, buzzed on ciders from a vendor tent, we wandered to the water's edge, planes banking like metallic birds. "Move in with me," he said, sudden, gravel voice cutting the roar. My studio's cramped, but us? We'd make it work. Heart stuttered. Cohabitation, the next frontier. "Yeah," I teased, but nerves hummed. "You're not just saying that post-adrenaline?" "Nope. Thought about it since NOLA. Your books on my shelves. Your coffee rituals messing with my sleep-in vibe. Grin lopsided. Perfect chaos." I said yes, sealing with salt lip kiss, waves lapping approval. Packing merged our worlds. My law tomes stacking beside his sketchpads, Gerald the ficus claiming a sunspot by his easel. Moving day dawned gray, friends hauling boxes with pizza bribes, Jake dubbing us the domesticated duo. By nightfall, the studio brimmed, our studio, cluttered with compromise. A desk squeezed in for my laptop, his paints corralled from the kitchen. First night, christened with takeout po' and a bottle of bourbon. Bodies mapping the new terrain on the futon, now queen-sized for two. "Home," he breathed after, head pillowed on my chest, heartbeat sinking. November's chill deepened resolve. Thanksgiving, we hosted Delphine, flying her up for turkey brined and sound salt, sides blending her cornbread with my mom's cranberry relish. The table groaned under platters, laughter louder. Tales of Wyatt's toddler escapades clashing with my awkward teen coming-outs. "You boys glow," she said, raising glass, eyes misty, "like fireflies in the bayou." Post-feast walks along the locks, salmon still leaping defiant, Wyatt's arm around me, Delphine's stories painting futures. She left with hugs and a beaded bracelet. For luck, share. And the apartment echoed emptier, but fuller too. Holiday frenzy hit. Tree trimming to Bing Crosby croons. Lights tangled like our early knots. Wyatt gifted me a custom sketch. Us on Rattlesnake Ledge, stylized in ink and watercolor, dawn breaking behind. "Our origin," the card read. I gave him a leather portfolio, embossed with coordinates of that very spot. New Year's, we rang in on the balcony, city fireworks symphony. His vow whispered, "To horizons together." Winter's grip tightened, but so did we. My case peaked. Settlement hammered in a marathon session. Exhaustion sweet as victory champagne. Wyatt surprised with a weekend in Leavenworth. Bavarian village draped in snow. Fondue bubbling by fireplaces. We wandered gingerbread streets. Mittened hands linked, steaming mugs of glühwein chasing cold. In the inn's clawfoot tub, bubbles foaming. He washed my back, murmurs of pride mingling with steam. "You're unstoppable. And you're my why," I replied, turning for a kiss that deepened to more water sloshing like applause. Return brought normalcy's test. Merged finances bickered over, his late nights at the brewpub leaving me to cold sheets. Petty frictions sparked, dishes piled, socks orphaned, but we aired them, therapy toolkit sharp. "We're learning," he'd say, pulling me close after a spat. Like any port in the storm. Spring 2026 bloomed verdant, cherry festivals in bloom. Wyatt's mural unveiled. Tempest waves crashing into rainbows. Critics hailing, Queer resilience in pigment. Opening night, gallery packed. He dedicated it silently to me with a toast, eyes locking across champagne flutes. To the calm in my chaos. Pride Month dawned. Seattle's parade a kaleidoscope. Rainbow flags snapping in breeze, floats blaring Lady Gaga, marchers chanting for visibility. We walked hand in hold, Wyatt's sign reading "Love's no experiment, mine identity unchained." Strangers cheered, a drag queen on stilts dubbing us power couple goals. And in the crush, tears pricked, validation, hard one. But euphoria's shadow loomed. Late June, Wyatt's phone buzzed during a lakeside picnic. Unknown number. He silenced it, but curiosity gnawed. Who? Spam. Dismissive. But nights later, another. Voicemail checked in the bathroom. Door shut. Paranoia crept. Riley's ghost whispering. Confrontation brewed over July 4th barbecues. Friends grilling burgers while we grilled truths. It's nothing, he insisted, but evasion stank. Then, the unravel. Mid-month, laptop left open, email thread glowing. Wyatt, need to see you. It's important. Heart seized. Wyatt. He emerged from shower, towel damp. I thrust the screen. Explain. His face drained. Noah. Shit. Shit? That's all. Fury boiled. After everything, deletes promises. She's back? It's not. He raked wet hair. Her brother's in town. Sick. Asked if I talked to him, old friend from art school. She facilitated. Facilitated. Venom dripped. Using you as bridge? Or excuse? Bridge. Pleading eyes. I said no. Haven't responded. But you read it. Kept it. Betrayal crested, wave crashing. I'm done chasing ghosts, Wyatt. Done being the fool who believes. Noah, wait. He grabbed my arm, but I wrenched free. Space. Real space. Door slammed. Me fleeing to the car. Tires screeching into night. Crash at Jake's again. Bourbon burning truths. He swears it's platonic, but how many times?
I'm exhausted.
Jake poured another. Trust your gut, but talk before torching. Days blurred. Radio silence from me, his texts pleading. Please, let's fix. Work devoured, but focus frayed. Briefs blurring with tears. Week's end, I caved. Met at our ledge, rattlesnake's vista mocking with serenity. He waited, backpack slung, eyes haunted. I deleted the thread, blocked her number. For good. Words, Wyatt. Voice cracked. Show me. I will. But hear this, you're not second. You're everything. Riley's past, comfort, yes, but empty. You? Fullness. Fire. Tears spilled, mine and his. It hurts. Every echo. I know. He stepped close, tentative. Let me heal it. Kiss came slow, salt-tanged. A bridge rebuilt. Forgiveness, fragile but chosen. Summer waned. Us cautious boundaries etched. No ex-contact. Grief shared openly. Fall beckoned. Anniversary nearing. That rainy alley kiss a year past. We recreated. Warehouse party. Same loft. Jake winking as we slipped out. Alley dark. Rain pattering. His lips met mine. Everything changed that night, he whispered. And I'm grateful. Me too. Sparks, eternal. But life's script twists. October, a letter arrived, Elias's will. Read by a notary in a sterile office. Bequest simple. Boat to Wyatt, sketches to Delphine. And to me. To Noah, the son I never had but always hoped for. Keep my boy steady. Tears choked, Wyatt's hand in mine. He knew. He did. Proof of acceptance, beyond graves. Winter holidays shimmered. Delphine's visit, tree lit with Elias's ornaments. Resolutions. Deeper roots, perhaps a ring someday, whispered over eggnog. Yet, climax brewed unseen. New Year's Eve, balcony countdown, his phone lit, text from unknown. Wyatt, it's Riley. Emergency. Call me. World tilted. Who? I demanded, champagne forgotten. He paled, reading. Her brother.
Odde.
Needs support. Support. I see. From you. From anyone. But.
No.
Voice steel. Not you. Not us. Argument erupted. Fireworks masking shouts. It's compassion, Noah. Compassion? Or compulsion to save her world? Pain peaked. Choose. He froze, torn. Then soft. You. Always you. Phone powered off, tossed aside. Kiss followed. Fierce, reclaiming. Resolution dawned. Therapy intensified. Boundaries ironclad. Spring, we bought rings, simple bands vowing privately on the ledge. Forever. Engraved. Summer solstice, a commitment ceremony in Discovery Park. Friends, Delphine toasting, sun dipping gold. Vows exchanged. In storms and calm, I choose you. Life's not linear ebbs, flows. But in each other's arms, we found identity's freedom, compassion's grace. The ceremony's afterglow lingered through July's lazy haze, Seattle sweltering in uncharacteristic heat that turned the sound to a shimmering mirage. Wyatt and I honeymooned locally. A ferry hop to Bainbridge Island, vineyard picnics under arbors heavy with Riesling grapes, bodies cooling in the inn's shaded pool. Rings glinted on our fingers, simple platinum catching light like private stars. A quiet declaration amid the tourists' chatter. Husband. He tested one afternoon, towel draped on the lounger, grin sly. The word thrilled, domestic and defiant, sealing the pact we'd forged from ashes. Back home, the studio, our home, pulsed with new rhythm. Wyatt's commission swelled. A mural for the Pride Center downtown, vibrant queer icons marching in pigment across brick. I mentored juniors at the firm, paying forward the steadiness Elias had willed me. Evenings, we cooked tandem. His jambalaya spiced with my added garlic, arguments over simmer times dissolving into laughter and flour-dusted kisses. Delphine visited often, her laugh filling rooms, beignet fried in the cast-iron skillet she'd shipped up. Y'all are my heart's ease, she'd say, braids swaying as she hugged us goodbye at SeaTac. But marriage, like any voyage, tested hulls. August brought my promotion. Senior partner, corner office with bay views. But the workload crested, nights blurring into dawn briefs. Wyatt felt it, sketching alone while I typed furiously, tension coiling like spring. Miss you, he'd murmur, sliding into bed post-midnight, arm heavy over my waist. I'd mumble apologies, guilt gnawing, but exhaustion won. His own pressures mounted. The Pride mural deadline loomed, critics circling with expectations of authenticity. One night, over cooling pad thai, he snapped, fork clattering. You're a ghost here, Noah. We vowed presence, not this. Stung. I fired back. I'm building us a future. Stability. Future? Feels like you're building walls. Hurt flashed. Raw. Silence stretched, then fracture. I slept on the couch, city's hum mocking. Morning brought coffee truce, but the rift lingered, a hairline crack. September's equinox brought balm. A weekend retreat to the San Juans, kayaks slicing emerald waters, orcas breaching distant. Paddling side by side, seals eyeing us curious, we unloaded. My fear of burnout, his imposter syndrome in the art world. We're anchors, not chains, he said, beaching on a pebble shore, hands laced. Pull together. Renewed, we recommitted, date nights enforced, my assistant fielding after-hours calls. October's foliage tour. Drive to the Olympics, trails crunching underfoot, leaves a carpet of crimson and gold. At Hurricane Ridge, wind-whipped, vista sprawling, he dropped to one knee. Not proposal, but renewal. Still choose you, ring-kissed, eyes fierce.
Tears pluret peaks.
Always. November's chill ushered gratitude. Thanksgiving with Jake's expanding crew. Table groaning under turkey and Delphine's flown-in yams. Toasts to Elias, to us, the family we chose, Sarah dubbed, glasses clinking. Post-feast, Wyatt and I walked the beach, waves gnashing pebbles, his head on my shoulder. This is enough, he whispered. You, me, the mess. Winter solstice glowed, tree lit with LED rainbows, gifts wrapped in newsprint sketches. His for me, a portrait series, our year in frames. Alley kiss, Nola courtyard, ledge vows. Mine, tickets to New Orleans, a return to roots. Holiday flew Delphine up again, jazz brunch at the market, her stories weaving past and present. Life's a second line, she said, parading us down pike with imaginary umbrellas. Dance through the dirges. New Year dawned soft, balcony confetti swirling, his kiss tasting of champagne and certainty. To uncharted. 2027 unfurled promising. My book deal on queer labor rights, Wyatt's solo show in Soho whispered. But trials tempered joy, firm politics souring. A colleague's outing sparking office whispers. Wyatt rallied. Your voice matters. Speak it. His show prep strained. Sketches shipped east, nerves fraying. What if they hate it? Sleepless, he'd pace, my arms his harbor. Fly, I'd urge, holding till dawn. Spring's thaw brought bloom. My book launch in a Belltown bookstore, Wyatt beaming front row, Delphine toasting with Sazerac flair. His Soho debut, virtual cheers from us, reviews raving visceral queer odyssey. Summer solstice, anniversary marked on the ledge, picnic of faux and promises, sunset gilding rings. 1 year, he marveled, head in lap, feels eternal. Fall's harvest, harvest of us too, talks of adoption whispers, fostering dreams. Little ones with your eyes, I tease, his laugh rumbling. But climax crested unbidden. October storm, gales howling off the sound, power flickering. Wyatt's phone rang, Delphine, voice quake, share.
Accident.
Slippery roads. Flight south frantic, hearts pounding. Hospital sterile, her room beeping monitors. Broken hip, but spirit unbroken. Fell chasing a recipe, she quipped, braids askew. Wyatt's relief sobbed out, my hand his lifeline. Vigil bonded deeper, her bedside tales of bayou loves lost and found. Y'all remind me, she whispered, frail but fierce. Love's the real magic. Recovery stretched, us shuttling, me handling calls, him nursing with gumbo broth. Distance tested, but video kisses bridged. November's gray lifted with her homecoming, us stateside but tethered. Thanksgiving virtual, her laugh pixelated but warm. Winter wrapped gentle. Solstice lights, her shipped beignet. New Year, three-way toast. To kin, blood and chosen. 2028 dawned resilient. Delphine mending, my book bestseller hum. Wyatt's TEDx on art as activism. Pride again. Us grand marshals for the center. Floats honoring Elias, Delphine's fire. Yet, the arc bent toward quiet profundity. Fall hike, leaves vortexing, Wyatt paused mid-trail. Kids, he said sudden. Let's do it. Foster first. Heart swelled. Yeah. Agency meetings followed, home studies, classes on trauma's touch. First placement. Theo, 8, wide-eyed from the system, curls like Wyatt's wild youth. This your forever? He asked, backpack clutched. Wyatt knelt. Working on it, bud. But yeah, feels like home. Theo thawed slow. Nights of nightmares, my stories lulling. Wyatt's sketches coax smiles. Holidays magical. His first tree ornaments clutched reverent. Spring brought permanency, adoption papers signed, family etched legal. Delphine flew for the picnic ceremony. Park blanket spread, cake smeared on chubby cheeks. Grandma's boys, she cooed, tears joyful. Life's denouement. Not grand, but woven. Mornings chaotic with Theo's chatter. Evenings us three tangled on the couch. Pixar flickering. Wyatt's art evolved. Kid portraits joining storms. My practice shifted, pro bono for foster youth. One eve, Theo asleep, us on the balcony, city twinkling. We made it, Wyatt murmured, ring-twined hand in mine. Through the gales, kiss soft, enduring. Years layered, Theo's teens turbulent but triumphant graduation, art scholarships echoing Dad's. Delphine's visits legend, her stories Theo's lore. In quiet, message distilled. Compassion bridges chasms, freedom blooms in vulnerability. Identity, fluid, fierce, anchors the soul. We, sparks to flame, proved love's quiet revolution. Chosen, cherished, unchained.